Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
Hour number 2 of the program, we welcome our pal, Danny Clinkscale, DannyClinkscale.com. It is Danny Unleashed, as you heard. It's brought to you by our good friend Joe Spiker at Easton Roofing. Material costs are going up. It sucks. I ain't going to lie to you, but it's happening everywhere in the construction business. Good news is Easton Roofing bought in bulk early. They're still working through their supply, but Joe was showing me just the other day. He said, here it is, third one this year of one of his suppliers for materials, how it's going up, 6/15, June 15th. It's the third one that he's had. There's one that was already scheduled on June 1 and one that was scheduled on May 15th, or maybe it was May 1st. I can't remember where it was, where the cost is going up. If your roof has been battered, beaten, it's just old, you want to make sure. Estimates are free. Inspections are free with Easton Roofing. So why wouldn't you call right now? 913-257-5426. Go to 913. Go online to eastonroofing.com, then call 913-257-5426. Commercial and residential, no payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. The entire metro, they covered, including Lawrence and Topeka. Easton Roofing. Joe Spiker and his team are out of this world. Go see him today at eastonroofing.com. Danny, how are you, my friend?
Doing just fine, Soren, except for bonking my head onto the microphone, which you might have heard there in a minute while you were doing the read. So that was a great way to at least elicit some giggles out of Curtis and Jed.
I got a big chuckle out of it, actually.
He did.
You are nothing if not entertaining, Danny.
Yeah, I like to spread joy wherever I go.
And you manage to always pull it off. That's what's so amazing.
And as I have learned, that was a fantastic sentence.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Did you just hit the microphone?
Jed just doesn't throw around like laughter or smiles or happiness of any sort.
No,
so if you
not.
get a guffaw out of Jed, you've done something special.
Perhaps it says something about Jed that the big guffaw came because somebody else did something stupid.
It says a lot about him.
It's what makes it so great.
His middle name is Schadenfreude.
Yeah, I was looking for that word. That word popped right into my head.
Oh, fat guy fall down.
I can hear the fat kid running. I bet it's hysterical.
Yeah, but it's hilarious.
Yes, good times. All right, Danny, I'm going to give you a choice. We'll get to both. Which one are you the most excited about? The NFL draft, the Chiefs draft, or the Royals' 5-game losing streak?
Well, you just had David Lesky on a little bit ago, so why don't we separate it out and we'll go with the Chiefs first.
Okay, let's go with it. What's the grade that you give the Chiefs draft? And describe how your grade works. Because I have a grade now, and then I'll give a grade in like 4 years where we see what it is. But my now grade is good. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to influence you because I know I would. So what's your grade, first of all?
Yeah, I'm easily influenced.
You're easily swayed.
I'll give it a B. If I was going to tip on either side of the B, I'd probably go towards the B- side, but that's way too – if there was a B point -01, that might be where I'd go.
Oh yeah. You're just nail it down kind of guy.
I wouldn't.
B and B- isn't even enough separation.
No, it's not, because B- sort of starts to trend towards it's not very good, and I don't want to give that impression. I guess that's what I'm saying.
So you love this draft?
No, I did not love the
draft. Would you,
if
you thought so? Could you give an A?
Yeah, I could give an A. If somebody
had some people
11,
who can't give A's.
If somebody had 11 picks and they all seemed to be pretty good and they fit what they needed to do, sure, I'd give somebody an A. I'd give somebody an A+ if I thought they deserved it.
Soren, please keep piling on because Curtis is not in the studio and has no way to defend himself. So point out how absolutely asinine it is to say, well, no draft can get an A. I can't give an A. It doesn't make sense.
I got emails and I got texts from people after Curtis said this, and we beaten on him for 2 days.
Well,
3 days.
The thing is, you can give a grade of an A. That doesn't mean that you're going to be right. I mean, you're going to be likely off the mark.
Wrong. Yeah.
Anyway, because
that's why I gave you the opportunity to describe how you grade.
All right. Well, I'll describe.
I think everybody does it kind of their own way.
Well, I just grade the way I see what they did and what they needed and what they could have done. And I think the Chiefs drafted good players. I think they generally had good draft strategy. They, of course, can never resist the idea of moving up, which they did. But I don't like the fact that they didn't really address two of the real needs that they had, which is a bona fide upper in the draft edge rusher and a second receiver. But the players they picked where they could have theoretically done that were good players, so to me. So I can't really, jump up and down about that.
So you would rather have them have taken the edge rusher, say, with the first pick, the wide out with the second pick, and then picked up the center and the middle linebacker later on?
Yes, I would have.
Okay.
But that being said, I do think the center has the chance to be a long-term player for them. So, like I said, I can't get up in arms, but I still would rather I think that second wide receiver on a team, the caveat here is the Chiefs are likely the best team in the National Football League. So to say that they, have real weaknesses, but everybody has some weaknesses, but the two areas that they really could use some work, I think, are the second wide receiver and the edge rusher, and they waited until later to take care of those particular needs. And I'll tell you what, even this time around, I am so sick of hearing these teams said they take the best player. I mean, although the Chiefs maybe in this particular case could stand on it even a little bit more, but so many other teams, I mean, we know that that this time around, right, with those two picks, I think the Chiefs probably did move away from areas where they had already dealt with the offensive line, and that's the other aspect. I think the Chiefs did lean toward overkill with the offensive line. I will absolutely say that. And when I said that on Twitter, I got absolutely annihilated. But
was Stan the guy who was annihilating you?
No, it wasn't Stan, but it was.
Well, because Stan on Friday, going into a week ago today on the Border Patrol, said Creed Humphreys was the guy he wanted him to take. He said, I want to see them finish the offensive line. Because you've done all this work, why not finish it? So he didn't see it as overkill. He saw it as finishing. So would you like to crap on Stan now?
No, I'm never going to crap on Stan. I learned so much about football from Stan. I can, it's silly. But
it would be so entertaining for the listener.
And if I
start like a verbal spat between you and Stan.
That's not going to happen.
I know it's not.
I'll start a verbal spat.
Stan does it. Stan's great. I just think it's interesting. The reason why I say it's like everybody, okay, how do you go about grading them? Right? Some people's grade is based upon what they think it's going to be. Right? I think that's impossible. My grade is based upon the resources you had. It also, my grade is somewhat based upon like I do think if you've traded away, like the Seahawks only having 3 picks. Okay, let's grade their draft. Well, we got to put Jamal Adams into that draft because they moved this first-round pick and next year's first-round pick for Jamal Adams. Okay. Yeah, I'll give them credit for Jamal Adams. I'll also give them credit for the fact that they have almost no picks. Right? Like, I'm going to ding them for the fact that they only had 3 draft picks because you need to be drafting players to keep your costs down.
Right.
Draft picks are your best chance at quality players at a cheap price. So just crapping away draft picks is not good. So I have some frustration in the fact that the Chiefs only have 6 picks. Right? They've traded up too much in the past. I do appreciate that they traded up this time but got 2 picks back because I think they need bodies. And so I do like that part. But I will give a grade now based upon what they did with their resources, and Orlando Brown gets factored into this for me because that's basically their first-round pick. And then I'll give a grade later on. Like, I don't expect, 6 starters out of this draft. And I think, to your point, if you're drafting, I like best player available. I like using free agency and being cognizant of your roster, of never getting to where you have nothing at a position. right? I would rather be pretty good at a position than great at a position at the cost of two others. And I think they did a pretty good job when they made the Orlando Brown trade of getting to where they could go best player available. And I think they really wanted a middle linebacker. And so if there was a need pick, it was Bolton, because I think Anthony Hitchens is going to get cut after this year. If there was a best player available pick, the other need pick would be in round 4 with Kando, because they definitely need a D end. Would be in round 5 with the Clemson wideout. But I think Creed Humphreys was not part of the plan. They literally just went, well, we might have taken this guy at 31, and he's sitting here at 63. We're not letting this guy go. And they don't have a center under contract after next year, so I don't think it's a bad pick. So I think it all kind of worked out for them, and I think they played the board pretty well. I would like to have seen him move down, but getting Creed Humphreys, who I think is arguably the best center in this draft, and like a guy got signed, Frank Ragnow was one of the guys I wanted the Chiefs to take when he came out, was the center at Arkansas, and the Lions just gave him a big contract extension, and he went roughly the same spot. I think he went in the second round somewhere. I think you can get great centers in the second round, so I'm more bullish than you are on it. I'm A- on the draft, because the guys that I think they took for need are really good players, right? I think Bolton's going to be a starter, and I think Kando is the kind of guy that you're like, why didn't I know this guy's name at Florida State? Because he's a pretty good NFL player. I don't think he's going to be 12 sacks a year or anything, but I think he's going to be a pretty good lefty end.
Well, he looks like a very good athlete. I don't think the Chiefs have had great luck, anecdotally off the top of my head, in drafting players whose production didn't match their profile in college. They've done that with a couple of wide receivers. They did it with Tano Passanio. They did it here. Now maybe this will be the one that works. I don't know.
That is a really good point. Although Passanio, nice guy.
If you say a guy's name in sports and then the next thing you say is nice guy, you're like saying, this guy's ass.
So true.
I mean, when you I like the guy, and he's a heck of an interview, and he treats children well.
He's never come over and taken a dump in my yard.
Right, exactly.
Do you remember? I honestly, to this day, I will never forget. He covered, who was the running back that was here? C.J. Spiller. C.J. Spiller in training camp. And they got Passanio here, and they moved him to linebacker. If it wasn't time to fire Bob Sutton and anybody else who greenlighted that asinine decision at that moment. And do you remember how excited, like the Chiefs cheerleaders, and I don't mean the real cheerleaders, I mean the fans that if you say anything negative, you get a nasty email about how they know way more about football than you do. Really? Well, this fat-ass talk show host told you Tano Passanio is not going to cover running backs out of the backfield at linebacker. Okay? They didn't know more than me that day. Okay? They didn't, because that was stupid. It was never going to happen. Oh, he covered C.J. Spiller out of the backfield. He's a star. He's the new wave. I got this one. He's the new wave of outside linebackers. 6'7", 285.
You know what that says at that moment in time? Cut C.J. Spiller.
Like 6 different times also.
Cut him right now. Right this minute.
But I just love, listen, if what you're looking for is for somebody to just put a big, bright, hookerish red lipstick on and kiss the ass of the Chiefs every day, man, you've come to the wrong place, because I'm just not going to do it. I can – it's like, do you remember when Herm Edwards tried to tell me, I was like, well, you drafted a kicker, and you got a kicker. Well, maybe we'll keep 2 kickers. I'm like, well, okay, but I tried to be nice, and he's like, yeah, well, who says we can't keep 2 kickers? I said, well, coach, me. I'll be the first one then. If no one's told you that, I will tell you you're not keeping 2 kickers. He goes, okay, we're not going to keep 2 kickers. Yeah, it's a competition. And, but like he actually thought, well, I'll try it and see if this dipwad will buy it. And I'm like, no, you're not keeping 2 kickers. Like it just doesn't work like that. Well, you're not covering people with 6'7", 285. I mean, once in a while in a zone blitz, okay. But, like, the idea is this guy's going to play outside linebacker, like, that pick was screwed from the get-go. I do think Kando is a guy that at least has shown flashes of ability, according to everything I've read and a couple of videos I've watched on the internet, but that, he does show, even though he had an incredibly weak bench press at like 15 or 16 reps, but supposedly at the point of attack, he can really hold his ground. He can shove the tackle back. He sounds like a left tackle, and he was a 5-star talent that just didn't, that played at Florida State at a time that they were a mess. So I'm open to the fact that somebody gets their hands on him coaching-wise, and they can unlock the talent that had him as a 5-star recruit. But I do think I think that was a need pick in the 4th round. And so if he sucks, it's going to be another reason to not pick need picks. Like, go get the best guy available.
Right, but there's so many times when it clearly is a need pick, and they'll still say that he was the best guy on our board.
Oh, I agree with that.
I don't know why it makes me laugh. So it makes me laugh like Jed when they say stuff like that. I mean, it's just here's my handbook of what to say at the draft. He fell to us. Oh, he was tops on our board. We couldn't believe he was still there, and. We thought we could get him at 31, and there he was at 62. Oh, I've got a chub. I mean, golly.
I'm just going to a random year, 2015, second, third rounds, like in that range. I mean, what you get in those second, third rounds, like running backs, wideouts, interior offensive linemen, safeties, like you can find quality there. I think that's where you just got to know. Like if you want a tackle that's going to play for a decade, you need to take him in the 1st round. I mean that's the key.
Right, because many of them get taken. That's so if you're taking a tackle in the 2nd round, it's ordinarily, maybe not this year, but it's usually going to be the 7th tackle or something like that.
Yeah, you're just as likely to find somebody. Like we looked up, Curtis did the background check of the 10 picks from 58 to 67. So, like, the guys that would be available at picks 58 and 63, where all the talent came from, where the Pro Bowl and All-Pro players were. And over 20 years, there were 8 wideouts that went to the Pro Bowl, by far the most, right? But there were no offensive tackles. There were 2 guards, 2 centers, a couple of running backs. But there were no tackles. But then you have like Bakhtiari, who comes in like the 4th or 5th round and ends up being really good. Like you're just as likely. They're all the same after about the first, 4 to 10 guys. And so I think that when you go middle linebacker and center at the bottom of the 2nd round, you're taking positions that have been really good in past years at that spot. D-end, you tend to have to go higher. Like you're a project.
Yes.
You really need to have something like Jared Allen was a 4th round pick. Jared Allen was known as a partier in college. That carried over into the pros. And, so there were some issues that were there. But he was a Hall of Fame talent. But for the most part, if you want offensive tackles and pass rushers, they go pretty early. That's all. I just think the Chiefs got good value for the guys that they took with what was essentially their pick 31 and their 2 seconds.
Right, that's why I said I didn't necessarily like what they picked, but I liked who they picked.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
We'll take a break. More with Danny Clinkscale. It's Danny Unleashed. Danny Clinkscale from DannyClinkscale.com. He is brought to you by Easton Roofing. No payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. Easton Roofing handles both commercial and residential roofing projects. Call them today at 913-257-5426. Online at EastonRoofing.com.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. The storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
All right, the good sense, end of the hour answer. Royals have lost 5 in a row. How long is the longest losing streak for a Royals team that made the postseason?
Ooh. I'm going to guess it was the 14 team, just as it's not the question, but...
That is not correct. Their longest losing streak was 5.
Oh, really?
I'll bet the 85 team had a turd.
5.
But 5's the longest, so if they...
5 is not the longest.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
That's how long those two were, but that was not the longest. The longest is 8.
I'm going to go with 8, Curtis.
Well, eventually you would just moved up the chart and found it.
Yeah, that would.
There weren't too many more answers left, so I thought I'd go ahead and throw
have
it in there.
9 playoff teams.
Yeah.
In the franchise's 52
So
years.
in other words, if they lose tonight,
53.
they're doomed.
Yes.
Oh,
No.
They're 8. 8 is the record.
Yeah,
Okay,
8.
we said 5.
Yeah, and the team that did it is not one you would have expected. They got off to a huge lead and were rolling the rest of the American League in 1980, then dropped 8 straight late in the year when they had almost a 20-game lead. They lost 8 straight down the stretch in September. The 84 team lost 7 in a row, and the 76 team lost 6 in a row. Those are the two streaks. Those are the 3 teams that had streaks longer than 5 that made the postseason.
So not like I just said. What we should be saying right now is bring on some more losses. Right
yes, now. Let's get this thing to 8.
Yeah, let's lose some more, and then we can.
Even though we rattled off 2 playoff teams that never lost more than 5 in a row, Danny has concluded we should root for more losses.
Yes.
No, I have. If they lost a couple more games here, I'm not going to feel. I don't feel real good right now. Period. And it's not just the 5 losses. It's
because when they were at 14-7, you're like, this team sucks. Everybody calm down.
I didn't say they sucked, but I did say that I didn't think they looked like a 14-7 ball club. And
I would agree.
Yeah.
So I think that overall, I think the Royals should be giddy to be 16-14.
Do you feel like they kind of have to? I mean, when you're not a team that's expected to play 560 or 580 ball or whatever, when you're up there, you just kind of need to, okay, we got up on this perch. Let's just try not to crash. If they get below 500, that's not a team that I think you should have any reasonable expectation is going to rebound and start playing really good baseball. Am I wrong?
No, I think that a lot of what they're doing right now, I think there's just a general good feeling about the team, that we're better than everybody thinks. Then that's what they were saying coming out of spring training. And then they went out and did it so they could, look at us. That's what we did. But they've seen bad. They know what bad looks like.
Yeah.
And, there's quite a bit. They're minus 14, and they're the 3rd worst in the league in run differential.
By the way, Good Sense, what we were playing for there, GoodSenseSubs.com. 30% more meat now. The app, the easiest way to order. 10% back when you're part of the Loyalty Club. Founded in Lenexa, Kansas. Locally owned and operated. That is your Good Sense. I know I've got to make a switch now with the 30% more meat. I've either got to go down to an 8-inch with extra meat or a 12-inch without extra meat because I'm too full. I know it's hard to look at me. It's not that I'm not a fat ass. I am. Even though my black shirts might make you think otherwise. It's just that, like, when you get older, I don't think you can eat as much. And I'm going to have to go down, I think, to an 8-inch with extra meat because I always got the double meat. Mm-hmm. But I think now it's like too much. Too much meat.
Like when you finish,
don't even know how.
Like when you finish, you don't feel good. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Right.
because I can push through full. like it's nobody's business.
Guys like Soren and I have learned how to. It's like that a distance runner. You get to that. We can push through to the end on a
exactly. Like
food.
I don't know if I can make it. Okay, give me another bite. I'm going to do it. I can do that. There's no doubt. But it's just like for comfort. And what you do afterwards, Curtis, is then you say, I had a big lunch. I'm just going to have a snack for dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
How does that work for you?
Like
what's funny?
I almost said like shh, not well. It never comes to fruition because then my wife cooks too well and I eat too much. So
it actually says on the bags. I went to Good Sense for lunch yesterday. It actually says on the bag, and I'm maybe paraphrasing here. Are you the kind of person that says you're going to finish half your footlong sub now and half of it tomorrow, or are you a normal person? Oh, thank you. You have identified me perfectly. This will be lunch tomorrow. Right.
Yeah, I'll do this for lunch tomorrow. An hour later.
Yeah.
I can breathe again. I'm going to go ahead and shovel this down now.
When I go through the drive-through and I get 2 sodas and they give me 2 straws, I'm like, that's cute. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
No, I don't need a drink carrier. One of these is not going to survive the trip home.
I have more than one slice.
It's funny because it's true.
And I don't like the feeling of being full per se. I like to stop just shy of it. But
I'm channeling my inner Danny these days. I'm trying to be more like Danny.
But I have
my health coach calls it paying attention to your satiety cues.
I would like to point out that Curtis just mentioned he has a health coach.
I do.
Wow.
Jody, it's Spiracare, and she's fantastic.
Well,
and not just did he mention it, he did it on the radio as well.
Satiety cues. It actually is important.
Well,
it's just not easy to do.
I think that she has a tough job.
Her work cut out for her.
I'm trying to think if Lance Leipold or Jody has a tougher job now.
When I walked in for our first appointment, she just goes, oh, boy.
Yeah. Really? I said I wanted a challenge, I guess. Here we go.
She hits the intercom. Carol, you cancel all my appointments.
Yeah.
Did you cancel my 11 o'clock and my noon?
Yeah. We're going to need a team of
experts.
We could get everybody in from Vienna. That would be great.
I will say that I have been guilty on more than one occasion of making a wrap and then cutting it in half, and then I'm nearing the end of the first half, and I'm like, I'm kind of full here, and I think I'll save that second half. But all you have to do is just
shut up, Danny.
Give in. All you have to do is give in to the temptation of taking one tiny bite of the second half, and then the second half is toast. You're going to eat it all.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Nothing like the skinny guy counseling the fat guys. Really appreciate that.
I'm not counseling. I just said that I ate that. I would, if I bite the second half, it's gone. I'm going to the finish.
I overate one time. I had a mint after dinner. It was just my god.
It was only a wafer thin.
One thin mint.
It was Danny
both went to the
Klinkskill.
same joke.
Brought to you by Easton.
That's one of the grossest things ever, but it was really funny. That bit. The one thin mint and the Monty Python thing, and then the guy explodes.
He's only a wafer thin.
He literally explodes. I'm like, this is so gross, and I'm laughing.
There's many a funny Monty Python bit.
Yes, indeed.
There's the one about the church forbidding. Never mind.
I think we're good. Good pet.
Yeah.
And Chad trying to pull us back from the edge.
All we know is there's so many. I don't
there
know
are
if
many.
I don't know if the Black Knight can be topped, but
Just merely a flesh wound, Danny.
exactly.
Your arm's off. No, it isn't. What's that?
Get back here! Fight like a man.
Yeah, that's one of the funnier ones, I will say.
Yes.
All right, Danny Klinkskill is with us, brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing, eastonroofing.com. Find them online right now. No payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. So the Royals.
Yes. I don't like what I'm seeing, and I think I fear that the Royals are more the team that has slumped lately than the team that was warm early.
Let me ask you this.
But they have enough elements that they've showed that I'm not going to be stunned if they pull out of it. But It's happening in the division. It's happening in a variety of ways. So I'm concerned. There's no question.
Does Adalberto Mondesi and a ready for primetime Bobby Witt Jr. finish this batting order?
Oh, I think it would really, really help. But hasn't Mondesi just kind of gotten to be like a ghost at this point in time? A ghost that if he appears and is not a ghost and plays.
Listen, I talk about him simply to placate the cheerleading fans, because I think you've gotten to a point. It's why I was really frustrated to hear J.J. Picola talk about, well, Witt Jr.'s playing short and third. Mondesi's our shortstop. Like, okay, so you mean he's going to play third, which means Hunter Dozier gets to grab his bags. And I know Hunter's only had one big year, but he gets to head out to right field and move off the position, I'm sure, having been a shortstop in college. Third base is the place he'd like to play. But he's always been willing, I'll play wherever they want me to play. Okay. I think his second best spot would be first. But instead, he'll head out to right field, and Bobby Witt Jr. will go to third base instead of, how about get Mondesi out to the outfield? Because if he's only going to play half a year every year, it's easier to replace an outfielder, in my mind, than it is one of your key infield guys.
Well, and that's proving to be correct. Now, at first it seemed like a nice little story, but what you've had now in the end is 30 games of below average defending and a 210 hitter with no power. Now he has
from a guy that's an above average defender on the other side of second base.
Yes, borderline. Nominated for a Gold Glove. Do I think he's that good? No, I don't. But I think he's good.
I think he's Gold Glove with the mitt, and I think the throws over at. I think he warrants Gold Glove consideration at second base. I'm not saying he should win it, but I think he's a pretty damn good defensive.
I agree with that. I don't think he rises to me quite to the level of a Gold Glove defender, or what? We're only two guys nominated. Would they nominate 2 or 3? I forget.
3, I think.
Yeah. Third best, maybe he can rise to. I'm buying. I'll buy that. But once again, he's proving if he just has more than a smattering of at bats. To his credit, he's drawn a walk or two, but he can't. He can't hit.
Almost the only way he gets on base is walks.
If he hits the ball in the air, it's an out. Sometimes he says the key. The tell is when he kind of barrels one, and you see him look up in the air, and his eyes kind of light up, and then it's
can of corn.
It's a can of. You're right. The outfielder isn't even backing up, and that's his best shot.
Well, he can't hit the ball hard, and I remember talking. I think it was to David Lesky. When he was down the minor leagues, he's like, well, the question is, are they going to knock the bat out of his hands when he gets to the big leagues? And
they have.
They have.
What's weird is he's 17 hits, 14 walks. At some point, they're going to stop walking him, aren't they? And then he's going to be in an even worse position.
You can see the frustration on the pitchers when they're like, I just walked him.
It's like walking the pitcher at times.
Yeah, and the problem with him is that there's no split. Like, he's the same guy. He's actually one of those guys he's better against lefties, but just marginally. I mean, it's at the end of the day, 582 versus 610 OPS is, without a split, at least if he had, like, you're like, oh, well, at least he's the same. He can hit both guys. No, he can't hit either, is really how I would describe that.
He'd be better off if he was just absolutely god-awful, can't play him against one side, and serviceable or better on the other. Like if his OPS was 400 and 720, that'd be better.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay, we'll platoon him.
Right.
And age-wise, he's not at a point where you're like, well, we just need to give him some time. Like, no, I mean, I get the 1,500 at bat thing, but
no, I don't. I think that has been.
No, I get it. I think it's real, but I think it's much more applicable, and I think it's much more defendable, and much more of a reason to be patient with a guy when he's not 26.
Right.
I think that 15. I think it's way too high. That's 5 full seasons of major league play.
No, it's 3
or 3.
Yeah.
and really,
my bad.
It's a little less than 3. I mean, because most guys get upwards of around You know, if you're an everyday player, you're going to get upwards of 600 plus.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
I think you're
guy.
generally going to be able to tell.
I would agree.
I think it was a
I
creation.
don't think it's a statement that everybody takes 3 years. I think it's a statement that you can't throw a guy away until he gets to that mark. And if you're a GM, that's fine. Now, if you want to eject on a guy sooner, I think you have that right. But I don't. Moustakas hit literally like on his 1500th at bat is when he started hitting.
I think
and that statement was made when he was at about 500.
I think it was somewhat of a creation of what they needed to say, and it worked. I don't think 15 years ago Dayton Moore was walking around in Atlanta with the 1500 at bat mantra. I don't. But that's just me.
I don't know. I like it that it was said because I get to measure it against everybody. And when you get to be Mondesi and you've passed that, then I don't want to hear any crap.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
that's when I turned up my frustration on Mondesi is when he went by that. Okay, I'll be patient. You've laid something out there on when it is the guy's supposed to go. Well, we're past that.
Yeah, well, no, what they'd probably say back to you is, well, it's just been in dribs and drabs. He needs a consistent amount of at-bats,
Yeah, and when he's 35 and, if we just he just needs to get some more playing time.
I hope the guy just makes me look stupid, and that he's just everything they ever said he was. But it just seems... I mean, the only thing I'm thinking about right now is kind of Byron Buxton. I think I might have been saying these words about Byron Buxton.
Oh, I think they're the same guy.
Now,
but Buxton's hitting.
I know. Buxton's going nuts now. Now, who knows if it will actually keep, but that would be your holy grail. I mean, Buxton looked
a guy who
looked terrible.
But before this season, Buxton's career slash was 238, 289, 430, 719.
And what was Mondesi's?
And
better.
It's sound real similar.
Yeah, it probably will. Yeah, and now he's 370, 408, 772, and 1180. Let's see what Mondesi's was.
Yeah, he's slugging like 700, isn't he?
Oh, he had like 8 hits and 6 were homers.
Mondesi's is 251, 284, 415, 699.
Ooh, that is close. I thought Mondesi's was better.
No,
because he never walks. So,
and I'll tell you want to know why it clicked for Buxton?
Well, I don't, but he was healthy.
I'll tell you why. Because I wouldn't go one more $blanking dollar to get him. Because I'm like, this is the year. Like, Mondesi's not available. I know that's going to blow up in my face, but he was kept by a guy. Buxton's out there. Whatever it takes, I've got to go get him, and I bailed. I chickened out. I got up into the 20s, and I went, nope, I'm out.
Well, and, it is only May 7th. You may not.
That is true.
That
is true.
He's certainly going to cool off. It's just how much.
I would like to hear what Danny thinks about Terry Bradshaw's comments about Aaron Rodgers and the Aaron Rodgers situation in general. We'll talk about that and maybe more. I don't know. We'll see if there's time. Danny Clinkscale is brought to you by Easton Roofing. It's Danny Unleashed. You can read Danny's great work at DannyClinkscale.com. That's DannyClinkscale.com. Or with Danny next here in the program.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, there's all kinds of roofing companies in Kansas City. People see their trucks, they see their ads, they see their commercials on TV. What separates you out from the pack?
Danny, there's a lot of roofers in Kansas City that are good roofers that can put a good roof on, but we like to pride ourselves on giving you a good customer service experience. From the first time you call, you're going to get a friendly voice on the phone. We're going to let you know what's happening and when it's happening. And, the other piece is some companies are small enough to do small jobs. Some companies are big enough to do big jobs. We're right there in the middle. We can handle the little stuff. We can handle your repairs all the way up to your big commercial roofs.
So what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you at Easton Roofing?
You can find us at eastonroofing.com, or you can always call us at 913-257-5426. That's 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
You're listening to the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you for joining us here on a pretty nice Friday. I'll take it. Some blue skies out there. Yeah, it's good for me. It's real spring weather is what it is, Danny. Danny Clinkscale with us from DannyClinkscale.com, brought to you by Easton Roofing. New roof repairs for your roof, gutters, attic installation. Prices are going up with the shortage of materials. You can still get a great price right now, though, at Easton Roofing. Call Easton Roofing at 913-257-5426 online at eastonroofing.com. Get that free inspection. Get a free estimate right now, eastonroofing.com. Danny, what do you make of Terry Bradshaw? My buddy Cofield in Vegas said, he goes, I don't agree with his opinion on Aaron Rodgers, ripping Aaron Rodgers about, woe was me and all this stuff. He said, I don't agree with what he said about Aaron Rodgers, but I appreciate the fact that at least he had a strong opinion. And I guess I was like, okay, I guess I'm not giving enough credit for that. I would fall in that category. He's given a strong opinion. But I also, though, think if you're going to analyze the game of football and your unwillingness to acknowledge how important the quarterback is and how much more power the quarterback position has these days, and just go with the thing that I bristle at is when I played, no, irrelevant. It's not the 70s. So it doesn't matter when you played. It has nothing to do with today. I really think it's like the beginning of the end of Terry Bradshaw as an analyst.
I don't know about that. I don't think anybody has really ever thought of Terry Bradshaw as an analyst. I think they've looked at him as an entertainer.
I think back in the day he was.
I think he was
kind of Barkley before Barkley.
No, I don't think. Well, to me he wasn't. To me he was always just an entertainer.
A personality.
Yeah.
Curtis,
I never went.
Do you think you ever got anything from him?
I've gotten less and less from him as the years have gone. I mean, to
right,
some
but
extent,
I'm saying
he mirrors.
Originally when he first came on, I thought he was very good.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought he wouldn't. He's kind of followed the same path that John Madden followed initially. There was a lot of him, and then he became kind of a parody of himself. And the more he went into it, the more he just became the character people thought he was. And I don't get much from him at all anymore.
I never thought he was more than serviceable, right from the jump.
I thought he was above average.
I didn't.
Okay.
Okay.
I never thought he was great, but I thought he was better than average.
And also
maybe I just got fooled by the.
This comes in also couched in the fact that there were times in Terry Bradshaw's career where he wasn't very happy. I mean, Terry Hanratty was around; they were playing him some. I mean, there were some things that went on in his career.
Well, that was my frustration with what he had to say.
Yeah.
Was the fact that there's NFL films of him complaining about how he was treated by Chuck Noll. And that's why I think his comments, okay, I get he's got a strong comment. I totally disagree with it. I think he's hypocritical. I mean, that's different than what I think of him as an analyst. But I think once you've gotten to this point that you're back in my day, you're done.
Yeah, we just shut up and did what we were told. No, you didn't.
Yeah. And we just took it. We just dealt with it. I didn't worry about anything.
Liked it.
You needed a hug, apparently, from Chuck Noll before you could take off as a player. So, yeah, I think it's ridiculous. 10 seconds. Aaron Rodgers, where does he play next year, or does he not play at all?
Denver.
I'll take Oakland. I think the Raiders have to get him.
Well, that'd be interesting if he played in Oakland.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm sorry, Vegas. Screw you, Danny!
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.